How did a poor farm laborer that lived from hand to mouth become the richest man in Ikuku, only to lose it all in a single night? His crops rotted. His animals dropped dead. This is the story of how the poorest man in Ikuku became the richest. And how greed turned his blessing into a curse. People rushed to Chief Femi's land, clutching their chests in disbelief. His once green fields, known for fat and bountiful harvests, had turned brown dead. All his healthy, fat and round animals lay dead in his farm. Even his grand storehouses, where food once spilled from every corner, had been eaten clean, by rats or some kind of animal. And the mansion? Engulfed by fire, burnt to the ground, and not even a pen was left. Chief Femi stood in the center of it all, barefoot, weeping. His rich agbada hung off his shoulder like a burden. "I did everything you asked," he shouted into the wind, falling to his knees. "I gave her to you. I gave her." The villagers looked at one another. Who was her? Some wept. Others whispered. A few turned their faces away, unwilling to watch the mighty fall. Even the king, standing quietly at the back, said nothing. And then, a sharp wind swept through the field, sending dust spiraling into the air. Femi raised his face. Tears streaked his cheeks. "Please, don't take it all." But the wind did not answer. That night, the moon refused to shine over Ikuku. And the people knew, something ancient had turned its back on the chief. But no one knew how this all began. And to understand the end, we must go back, to when Femi was nothing but a barefoot farmer begging the gods to hear him. Long before he was called chief, he was simply Femi, and he was wretched. He woke before the roosters and walked miles to work on other people's farms under the hot sun for just a handful of cassava or a small coin. He had no land, no house, not even a mat to sleep on. At night, he lay beneath a leaking zinc roof, listening to rats chew the corners of his only wrapper. Yet somehow, his heart was never bitter. When Mama Igioma's roof collapsed during the rainy season, it was Femi who rebuilt it, using old planks he gathered from the forest. When children in the village were sick and their mothers couldn't afford herbs, Femi would walk to the hills, cut leaves with trembling hands, and bring them back. Even when he was starving, he once gave his last bowl of soaked gari to an orphan boy sitting by the roadside. "Why do you give when you have nothing?" someone once asked. Femi only smiled. "Because I know what it feels like to have nothing." But kindness did not shield him from mockery. Children laughed when he passed. Women rolled their eyes. Men joked that even his shadow was broke. He was tired. Tired of pretending that a kind heart could fill an empty stomach. One day, after being insulted at the market for begging for rotten tomatoes, something inside him snapped. That night, he walked into the forest alone. The same forest where elders warned them about, saying spirits slept there. He was determined to get wealth. He fell on his knees under a tall iroko tree and cried so loudly the birds flew away. "Please, gods of this land, if you are real, bless me. Or take me. I can't keep living like this." After crying for hours, the wind circled him, slow at first, then faster, lifting dry leaves into the air like they were dancing to a silent drum. Femi opened his eyes. The night had changed. The forest no longer felt empty. Then he saw it. A tall figure stepped out from behind the iroko tree. Not walking, but gliding. Its skin shimmered like palm oil in sunlight. Eyes like burning coals. No legs touched the ground. Femi's heart nearly stopped. But the spirit spoke gently. "You have called and I have heard." Femi couldn't move. Who are you?" "I am one of the keepers of this land. Many cry out of greed. But your pain reached the roots beneath this soil." Tears fell from Femi's face again. "I have nothing," he said. "I've given all I can." The spirit nodded. "And because of that, you shall receive." It stretched a hand toward the earth. The ground split open with a soft rumble, revealing a patch of untouched land covered in golden mist. "This will be your land. Tomorrow go there. Plant these." The spirit dropped a bundle of seeds, maize, yam, okra, cassava, and melon. "You shall also find animals, goats, chickens, cattle. They will come to you in time." Femi fell to the ground in gratitude. But the spirit's voice grew serious. "Every night, spirits of the earth will cultivate your land. You don't need to do anything. You must never interfere. You must remain kind. The day pride enters your heart, that day you will lose everything. Femi nodded quickly, trembling. I swear, I will never forget. The spirit began to fade. One more thing, it said. Not all blessings are forever, but they are earned, every day. Then, silence. The air returned to stillness. Femi was alone again. But everything had just changed. Femi woke before dawn, his body aching from the forest floor. But his heart burned with purpose. He ran straight to the golden patch of land the spirit had shown him, and it was real. A wide, fertile stretch of untouched soil glistened under the morning sun. No weeds. No rocks. No footsteps but his own. He stood in awe. With shaking hands, he planted every seed the spirit had given him: maize, yam, okra, cassava, melon. He dug carefully, like each crop was a child. Then he built a small shed using leftover bamboo, slept there, and waited. Night came. The moon was full. Femi sat near the edge of the land, watching in silence. The air grew cold. The ground began to hum, like a drumbeat buried deep beneath the earth. Then they came. Figures began to rise from the soil. Silent. Glowing. Not human, not beast. Some tall, some small, all faceless. They carried tools made of bone, silver, and fire. They moved with perfect rhythm, tilling, watering, pruning. Crops that were only seeds hours before now sprouted leaves. The okra stretched toward the moon. The yam vines curled like snakes. Femi gasped but stayed still. He remembered the warning, do not interfere. By morning, the land had transformed. His maize had reached his waist. Fat yam heads peeked from the soil. Everything was greener, fuller, sweeter than anything he'd ever seen. And beside the crops, a small pen of goats had appeared, fat, robust, and already chewing grass. Femi fell to his knees again, overwhelmed. It had begun. But still, he told no one. He returned every day to watch the miracle and every night to guard it with silence. The figures worked on his farmland night after night after night. And the blessings kept growing. It didn't take long before the village noticed. Femi's okra sold out first. Crisp, tall, and so green it looked like it had been painted. His yams? Round like calabashes. His cassava? White, thick, sweet-smelling. Even people from other villages traveled to Akuku just to taste his produce. Traders lined up outside his small bamboo shed before sunrise, holding baskets of coins. Femi barely spoke, he just smiled and handed out harvests, always generous, always kind. But the gossip started. Wasn't that the same Femi who used to beg for Gary? Who gave him land? What kind of goat grows that fat overnight? His chickens are as big as turkeys. It's not normal, oh. Still, Femi kept quiet. Instead of flaunting his wealth, he shared it. He donated food to every household in the village. Built a water well in the market square. Repaired the leaking roof of the community school. Paid school fees for the children of widows. During the Festival of Rains, he sponsored drummers, dancers, and cloth for the entire town. Soon, the mockery turned to praise. Femi the kind. Femi the blessed. Chief Femi. His kindness made him beloved. One afternoon, the king sent royal messengers to summon Femi to the palace. Femi wore his best wrapper and walked to the palace humbly. There, the king welcomed him with a smile. You have brought pride to Akuku. Wealth is easy, but kindness is rare. Sit with us, become my advisor. Femi's eyes widened with gratitude. During a royal feast, Femi's eyes met those of the king's daughter, Princess Amaka, beautiful, graceful and kind-hearted. She smiled at him, and he felt something he'd never known, hope. The king noticed and later offered his daughter's hand in marriage. To a man who serves his people with a good heart, he said. Femi's heart soared. Their wedding was the grandest the village had ever seen, dancing, drums, and blessings from every corner of the land. At first, Femi remained the humble man he always was. He woke early to walk through his farms and spoke kindly to his workers. Princess Amaka's smile seemed to keep him grounded. But slowly, things shifted. He began to trust his servants more than his own hands. He grew frustrated with villagers asking for help, sometimes turning them away. He became very rude and arrogant, laughing at poor people. He treated his servant with disrespect, mocking them as though he had forgotten that he was once poor. At gatherings, he wore finer clothes and spoke of his riches with pride. The villagers whispered, "Femi is changing. The man who gave us food now ignores our pleas." Amoka grew worried. "Remember who you are," she pleaded. One night, the forest wind brought the spirit's voice again. "You promised humility, but pride has crept in. Change or lose all." Femi scoffed. "I earned this. I will not lose it." His heart had begun to darken. The spirit's warning echoed in Femi's mind, "The day pride enters your heart, the land will shut." But pride had already taken root. And after a few months, though his barns were full, his harvests were no longer as sweet. His goats grew leaner. His chickens stopped laying eggs. And at night, the spirits no longer came. At first, Femi waited. Then he begged. Then he shouted into the wind. Nothing. He tried giving more to the village, building more wells, sponsoring more festivals. But it wasn't kindness anymore, it was panic. In desperation, Femi sought help from Chief Otoro, the old chief priest who had been banned from Ikuku years ago for practicing dark rituals. They met in the forest, under a dead tree with blackened leaves. Otoro grinned when he saw Femi. "Ah, the mighty chief comes crawling." "I need the spirits back," Femi said. "I'll do anything." Otoro's eyes gleamed. "Then give them something more valuable than crops. Give them royal blood." Femi stepped back. "What do you mean?" "The spirits want purity. The soul of your wife, the princess, will bind your wealth forever. Just a thread of her hair, just a taste of her blood." Femi trembled. But then he remembered the poverty, the laughter, the empty nights. He agreed. That night, as Amaka slept peacefully beside him, he snuck to her side, cut a strand of her long black hair, and pricked her finger with a needle, catching a drop of blood in a calabash. Otoro led him in the ritual. The ground trembled. The air howled. Femi smiled. By morning, the spirits had returned. His crops grew green again. His animals danced in the fields. He had won, he would never be poor again, and also he didn't need to be humble anymore, because he will remain rich forever. At first, Amoka thought it was stress. She felt dizzy during the royal meeting. Then again at the harvest feast. Her skin grew cold. Then one morning, as she brushed her long hair, she noticed she had begun to lose her hair, plenty of it. Fear crept into her heart. She was losing her strength. That night, she dreamt. She stood in a forest. Thick mist wrapped around her. A figure appeared, tall, glowing, eyes of fire. But this time, it wasn't angry. It was mourning. "You were traded," the spirit said softly. "Not for love, for greed." Amoka trembled. "Traded for what?" "Your life, for his wealth." She woke screaming. Femi rushed to her side, pretending concern. But she saw it in his eyes, a flicker of guilt. The next day, while he was away boasting at the village council, Amoka packed her things and fled to the only place she knew spirits would answer, the forest. Under the iroko tree, she fell to her knees, just as Femi once had, and cried, "I did nothing wrong. Please help me." The wind shifted. Leaves danced in the air, and the earth beneath her feet glowed red. The spirit returned. "You were innocent. But the land has been cursed by betrayal. And now, the price must be paid." It touched her forehead, and suddenly she understood everything, the secret ritual, the blood, the calabash. When she opened her eyes, her voice echoed with the ancestors. And she knew what she had to do. She would not beg. She would fight. The next morning, Chief Femi stood proudly before his new storehouse, showing the elders his latest harvest. "You see? My wealth has returned. I told you, Femi cannot fall." But back at his compound, something strange was happening. His goat dropped dead without a sound. Chickens scattered, flapping wildly, crashing into walls. The air turned cold, unnaturally cold. Then came the scream. A servant ran barefoot into the market. "Princess Amoka, she's back." Femi's heart sank. She entered the square, surrounded by wind and silence. Her eyes were glowing, soft, red, ancient. The villagers froze as she walked past, barefoot, head held high. The king himself stepped forward. "Amaka, where have you been?" She turned to face him. "Ask your son-in-law what he offered the spirits in exchange for his wealth." Gasps filled the air. Femi stuttered. I don't know what she's talking about." But the wind interrupted him. It roared down from the hills. Dust rose. The earth cracked beneath his feet. And then, the spirit appeared. It hovered above the village square, glowing with ancient fury. "You broke the pact, Femi. You fed your greed with the blood of the innocent. The same hands that once gave freely now steal in secret." The villagers began to murmur. Mothers grabbed their children. Femi dropped to his knees. "Please. I was desperate. I was afraid to lose everything." The spirit's voice thundered, "And now you will." The ground under Femi split, swallowing his newly built barn whole. His riches, his grains, his fat livestock, gone in seconds. Amaka turned away, her face calm but cold. And the king's voice followed, "Strip him of his title." The wind died. The sky cleared. But Chief Femi's world had already collapsed. His barns were buried. His lands cracked and dry. His animals gone. His home, once the pride of a cuckoo, now stood hollow, its marble walls blackened by smoke, its golden gates twisted like ropes. Femi wandered barefoot through the village, the same way he once had in his youth. Only now, no one looked at him with pity. They looked away. Mothers clutched their children as he passed. Traders turned their backs. Elders shook their heads. Even the beggars he once ignored him. He tried to speak to the king, but the guards blocked his path. "You gave away our blood," the king said coldly. "You have been banished." Princess Amaka sat beside her father, clothed in white, her face calm but distant. She did not speak to him. Femi returned to the forest, to the Iroko tree where it had all begun. He fell on his knees, sobbing. "I lost everything, but I didn't mean to. I just wanted to stay blessed." The spirit did not return. Only the rustling of leaves, like distant laughter. The blessings were never in the wealth. They were in the man he used to be, before the greed, before the lies. Days turned into weeks. Femi built himself a small hut outside the village walls. He lived alone, planting real seeds now, working with blistered hands once again. But the spirits never came back. Children would one day point at the quiet man by the river and ask, "Who is that?" And their mothers would whisper, "That was once the richest man in a cuckoo." But the land remembered. The sky remembered. And the people never forgot. True wealth is not what you hold in your hand, but what you hold in your heart.